So like I said, we're in the middle of the 7 C's. I think you all kind of know what's going on with that, right? Brian's got this wonderful system of 7 C's. It reminds me a little bit of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You remember the Stephen Covey book? It's different. It's aimed in a little different direction, I think, as far as Stephen Covey was much more of a worldly audience than a spiritual audience, but it's all good stuff. So we're in the middle of 7 C's, and this one, so last week, well, let's see, go back, went back and watched Brian and Brett just to see what they were talking about. And Brian started off by making a choice, right? We got to make a choice. Got to make positive choices. Got to get a vision for what we want and make that choice. And then the second one, of course, is memorize. All right, so then we're looking at clarity. A clear conception of what we want, a vividly compelling vision, clearly imagined goal. And then last week, Brian talked about a commitment, right? We have to make a commitment. You know what the difference? You know, I usually do this with a membership Sunday. You know what the difference between the chicken and the pig in relation to your ham and egg breakfast, right? The chicken was involved, but the ham was committed. There's no going back when you're committed, right? It's not, well, I'll check it out. That's not commitment. That's just checking it out. So once we make a commitment, all things, you know that Gert, I don't know if you use that Gert quote, I know it's in his notes here somewhere, but not all things. You know, once we make a commitment, all things come together and provide a clear path, right? So when we're hemming and hawing, who knows what's going to happen, right? But when we make that commitment, then all of nature, all of the world comes together to help us out. Today we're talking about overcoming constraints. Overcoming constraints. He says a determination to overcome constraints. There's a story about the 3 ministers who went out fishing one day. There was the rabbi, the priest, and a unity minister, and they all go out fishing one day, right? And they're out on the boat, and they're getting to be close to lunchtime, and rabbi says, you know, I think it's about lunchtime, I think I'll go up to the beach and have some lunch. So he gets out of the boat, walks on the top of the water, gets onto the beach, and starts eating his lunch. And the priest says, I think that's a good idea too. And so he gets out of the boat and walks across the water up to the beach for his lunch. And the unity minister's sitting there with his eyes wide open and says, well, by God, if they can do it, I can do it too. And he gets off the boat on the other side, splashed down into the bottom. The priest and the rabbi look at each other and said, you think we should show them what stepping stones are? Stepping stones, right? Stepping stones. There's Bob Wazzer, is that right? Yeah. Bob Wazzer was a long-time unity minister. Knew him for many years. And he's the one that convinced us to go pioneer out in Gresham, Oregon when we came out of school. And he talked about the difference between stepping stones and stumbling blocks. Constraints are stumbling blocks. But they also can be turned into stepping stones. Right? If you have to climb over all these blocks, well, maybe you can walk across the top of them, or go around them, or fly above them, or dig up. They're stepping stones. These constraints. What we have to go through, to get to where we're going. Right? Some of us have gone through some stuff we'd rather not have gone through. But once we've gone through it, we go, okay, that was what was necessary to get to where we're going. You know, if you've ever heard the story of Abraham Lincoln, and he had quite a list of accomplishments. In 1832, he lost his job and was defeated for state legislature. In 1833, he failed in business. In 34, he did manage to get elected to the legislature. In 35, his fiancee died. And 36, he had a nervous breakdown because he just couldn't, he was so shooken about her death. He finally got reelected. He got reelected to the Illinois. He did get elected to the state legislature. And then in 1838, he was defeated for the speaker. I don't know what my hands are funny today. 1838, and then 1843 he was defeated in his nomination to go to Congress. In 1846 he was actually elected to Congress. 1848 he lost the nomination, so he got elected, and they didn't even get through the nomination process for the party. 1849 he was rejected for a position as a land officer, but then he went off to do his own law practice. In 1854 he was defeated for the U.S. Senate. And then in 1856 he was defeated for the nomination for vice president. And in 1858 he was again defeated for the U.S. Senate. And in 1860 he was elected president. We have to go through what we have to go through. It's not a straight line. I don't know if you've ever recognized that. It's not just a straight line from here to there, to where we're going. Right? We have a vision. We've got to keep that vision in mind. Where are we headed? Right? And then when we run into stumbling blocks, when we run into constraints, when we run into obstacles in our way, we just say, this is a stepping stone. This is what I have to go through to get to where I'm going. Know how to, and each situation is different. We used to have a donkey back at our farm in Oregon. We called her Mama Donkey. She was one of those ones with the cross on the back that supposedly carried Jesus, or Mary, I guess. And Mama Donkey lived for a long time, and then eventually, she passed away, and we dug a big hole and threw her in. And it reminded me of the story of the farmer. He had a well that needed to be, it was a dry well, it needed to be filled in, and he had this old donkey that somehow managed to get itself to fall into the well. And so he said, well, okay, the donkey's old, might as well just bury him, and we'll just kill two birds with one stone and fill in the well and just bury the donkey in the well. Well, they start digging, he's throwing dirt into the wall, and after a while he looks down there, and there's that donkey. How'd that donkey get up above the dirt? And he watched. He'd throw a shovel of dirt, it would land on the back of the donkey would shake it up, take a step up, and eventually he'd thrown enough dirt in it, the donkey walked out. So is it a stepping stone or a stumbling block? It's up to us to decide which it is. So we move forward with what we have. Overcoming constraints, conquering ourselves. I think that's the main thing. Conquering ourselves. We are our biggest obstacle. We are our biggest obstacle. And to overcoming constraints. Now, a quick commercial there. I've been working on my website recently, and some of you know that I do a weekly prayer letter that I post. I also have classes. My website crashed a few years, and so I had to use it when I had to kind of recreate some stuff. It's taken me a while. I'm still not done yet, but I got quite a bit up now, several classes. In fact, my most recent one is called Healing, Health, and Wholeness Gospel Style, where I look at all the healing miracles that in the Gospels. Jesus is like 26 specific ones, and that's not counting being told 3 different times. It's condensing that into one. So like 26 different ones, and I go through 5 sessions of about 20-25 minutes talking about the elements and how to metaphysically interpret them and to apply to our lives. And then I got ones on the New Testament, the Old Testament, and a few other things going on here. So if you go into peaceunity.net, you can go to classes and see what's there. And some people give me some good feedback, so I'm really enjoying that. Which brings me my Bible quote, just for the sake of it. Probably should have done this before, but what the heck. This comes from chapter 4 of, no it's not, that's 10. Chapter 10 of Matthew, Gospel according to Matthew, the disciple. And here he's telling the 12 disciples, he's giving them authority over unclean spirits, to cast them out, to heal every disease and every infirmity. He sends them out. They're named, and then he sends them out. And he's talking to them about, not taking 2 tunics, just take, And then he says, as you enter the house, salute it, and if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. Don't get all worked up just because somebody doesn't agree with you, or somebody's not doing what you think they ought to be doing. Right? And he tells us here in a second, he says, And if anyone who will not receive you or listen to your word, shake off the dust from your feet as you leave that house or town. Shake it off. Right? Shake it off. We have experiences with people who are just the other day, I was out and about in the shopping center, I was standing there looking at somebody, and somebody comes in and kind of shoves me out of the way because they wanted to get, not a word was spoken. I mean, people are rude sometimes, And, I was sitting there getting kind of worked up a little bit. And I said, shake it off, They've got somewhere important to be or whatever. It's like when I get tailgated, get behind somebody, I guess I should say, when I get behind somebody who's driving slower than I want to go anyway, I don't really get upset until they're below the speed limit. But other than that, I can handle it. But we never know what's going on for those people, the people that are in front of us. One story I heard about, the guy was all upset, and then he followed this car for a while. They pulled into the hospital parking lot. What were they doing? They were probably going to see somebody who was ill. They may not have felt like they could drive that fast. They wanted to go slow. I can imagine myself in times when I've been mentally, emotionally turmoil that I wanted to just go slow. Yeah. So we're in the midst of these 7 C's, and learning to put these into practice in life. These are great ideas to make a choice. What's our choice today? Our choice, for those of you here that come to church on this beautiful snowy day, I'm glad you showed up. The ones of you that showed up, that's great. And the people who are going to watch this online, I hope you enjoy it. And we all make choices. And the choices that we make to overcome the obstacles, right? Clarity of vision and making a commitment, and then overcoming. We shall overcome. There's nothing too big that we can't overcome when we turn it over to God. When we find ourselves in greater reality, good orderly direction. Of course, when I'm talking about God, I've got to remember to define what I'm talking about. Good orderly direction. That there is a divine order and divine timing in the universe. How that works, where it comes from, when it started, how this all works is beyond my knowledge. I just know that it exists. That there is a greater power, that there is a greater reality than the one that we live in today. And to realize that those stumbling blocks, that those blockades, that those barriers, that those things that get in the way of where we're going are just part of the process of getting to where we need to get. If the image of the butterfly, I think you probably all heard that before, the butterfly. The little boy who sees how hard the butterfly has to struggle to get out, so he decides to cut it a little bit, and so the butterfly just pops out, flops on the table, and its wings are just useless, and it dies. Because it has to have that resistance. It has to build up that strength to open up that pod, that cocoon, in order to escape and to fly. If it doesn't have that resistance, if it doesn't have that workout, right? I was at the gym the other day doing my exercises, doing my ups and downs and doing, because I got to go through what we have to go through. I want to be healthy. I want to continue to be healthy, so I do the things that are necessary to keep me healthy. Right? Diet, exercise, good thinking, prayer, meditation, yoga, whatever practices that we, if you're into Tai Chi or you're into some of these dance-exercise things, I've never really quite gotten into. My wife has a little bit, but it doesn't appeal to me. So in that thought, right, knowing that, what do they say? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's not always true, but So this is our card for today. I didn't make up a card, but I thought I would give you something to take home. This is our closing song. Ricky Byers back with, I think it's just Ricky Byers now.